Y'all hear me back here? If I get talking too loud, you just tell me to turn it down a little bit. I'll do that. I want to start with a poem, if I may. I'm just a farmer, plain and simple, not of royal birth, but rather a worker of the earth. I know not of riches, but rather patches on my breeches. I'm just a farmer, plain and simple. I know of drought and rain, of pleasure and pain, the good, the bad, the happy, and the sad. I'm a man of emotions, a man who loves this land and the beauty of its sand. I know of spring's fresh flow and autumn's golden glow, of newborn calves' hesitation and the eagle's destination. I'm just a farmer, plain and simple. I know of tall pines and long waiting lines. I know of warmth of campfires and the agony of flat tires. I'm just a farmer, plain and simple. I'm a man who loves his job and the life that I live. I'm a reaper of harvest, tender of stock. I know of grazing grass and baling hay and animals going astray. I live in a complex world, but my faith guides me. I am a man who works with God. I cannot succeed without his help. You see, I'm just a farmer, plain and simple. I'm a third-generation farmer. I grew up there in Armstrong County. I've been doing rotational grazing now for 30 seasons, 30 years. I learned it back in high school in 1963. My ag teacher. I learned about rotational grazing, grass-based genetics, spring systems, fencing, and the whole thing. And it took me just 25 years to put it into practice. Other things in my life came up. The biggest thing was I was drafted in '66. I came back safe. My dad was killed on the farm, and tractor accident, that's another story, but I've been there ever since, and I did other things for several years, 25 years. I lost my job at a local manufacturing plant, and I decided to go back to the farm, and I got my 3-ring binder down out of the attic, and it was all in there. What I'm going to share with you today about rotational grazing and grass. And I started planting fence posts in '87, and I've been planting fence posts ever since. I'm a firm believer in not only what we say and think, but what we eat. The cattle are the same. God made us out of dirt. He breathed life into us with minerals. And when those minerals get mixed up, we don't work as good as what we could. Cattle's the same way. The cattle are what they eat, grass. The grass eats minerals, dirt. I'm a dirt farmer, I'm a grass farmer. I'm back to basics, back to roots. Some of the fields we have up there, this is a little race back up there in the middle is a watering system, a watering trough. This is early spring. Rotational grazing, a large number of animals in a small area. The larger number of the animals in the smaller area, the more intense it is. If there's a secret or a key word to rotational grazing, it's intense. Keep them hungry. Let them eat it. They'll eat it all. If it's less than 10 inches high and it's green, they'll eat it and they'll grow. I've had them get as high as 4 pounds a day just on the grass. That's through the summer, right into fall. And you can't hurt that grass. I have a word is cliche, I think. Grass, God's resource, always sufficiently sustainable. It'll work. And again, I repeat myself, you can't hurt that grass. It just keeps coming back. I'm not here to promote any breed, but we raise Devons, The ones with the horns are milking Devons. And if I was 40 years younger, I'd have a yoke of oxen, sell the tractor, and I'd stay on the farm forever. I wish all the children in the world could grow up on a farm. Learn to work. Learn responsibility. Now that we're not. And sweat. Rotational grazing, again, I say I learned in high school in 1963. If anybody here is associated with a dairy farm, that dairy farmer, he knows what that cow is going to eat. He knows what she's going to produce, both in milk and reproduction. He knows all the statistics. He keeps good records. A lot of beef farmers, no offense to anybody, they don't keep the good records I think they should. They don't manage the grass as best they could. Grass, that's one of our best, most prominent natural resources. Grass, air, and water. Put them in a little area, let them eat it. For years, I started building fence, like I said, at 87. I had no idea really what I was doing, but I got some hills back home. It was suggested to me to put up just temporary fences, little poly wire. Well, the hills, I didn't want to move the fence every day, so I set my perimeter fence up all around that farm. My dad, over the years, the farm had grown smaller. The limbs would come in and he'd just mow over a little bit further. You know, he didn't cut the limbs off, God bless him. And over the years, the acreage got smaller, and I had the opportunity again to start in 87. I made up my mind I'm going to fence in every inch of it. So the first thing I did to run around the perimeter of my 35 acres, cut all the limbs back, rubber all back, and started driving the fence post. I believe in keeping the grass uniform. When I move the cattle from one section to the next, I immediately go in, rain or shine, with my mower. If there's any high stuff, clip it down, keeping it uniform, and I am adamant about smearing the manure. I made a big tire drag behind my brush hog to smear the manure, one pass, get it smeared, and it'll come back, rotate 20, give or take 22 acre lots, about 40 days, and it's back 8-10 inches high, and do it all again, just through the summer. Early on, I took my soil samples, got my pH up with the line. That's all I've ever did. The soil gets better over the last 30 years. I took soil samples last 16, in the spring of 16. I needed no lime or no fertilizer. The pH was right on, the grass was growing. The soil gets better with the rotational grazing. The grass gets better. The animals get better. They eat, they grow, and it's just a beautiful cycle. Beautiful cycle. Just a couple more pictures of the farm, the watering system. My wife put the heading on there. Some of this is just a little bit higher than I'd like to graze early in the spring when the rains come on. If you don't have enough cows, calves, whatever, to keep your grass short, they won't eat it all, which is not a bad thing, called stockpiling. Or I go in and keep it uniform. Keep it uniform, smear the manure, and do it again. Just some more pictures, fall picture. That was our Devon bull. I sell freezer beef in the fall. I'm a believer in the only true grass-fed beef for market is, again, I'm from Western Pennsylvania. When the frost hits in the fall, my ag teacher told us when the grass gets frosted, it's dead. It's not too much value in the feed yet, but they will thrive on it. I make all my own hay right there on the farm. The lots that are next to the barn, flat, that I get at, easier with the tractor. They are the ones I keep for making hay. Other than that, I graze it all off year round. And I feed my hay, and what the next picture there, there's a winter scene. I feed my hay out in the pasture. Actually, I do the rotational grazing through the winter like I do through the summer. Only in the winter, I roll my hay bales out to the section they're in, and when the manure gets so thick that I can't roll another bale out without getting on the manure, I move them into the next section. Wait for spring for the manure to thaw. There's a scene from the Collier Hill farm. If you can see it, that's me on the tractor with the hay bale on the back, ready to spread it out into the field. You have to take time to appreciate the cold weather in Pennsylvania. And another one. There's a pile of manure with ice on it yet. I made that rule down there just to give you some idea how big it was. That was probably in February. Another one. Manage your grasses. Keep them uniform. Let them eat it. Smear your manure. Wait for the next cycle. Do it again. I mentioned maybe I did 30 years. This is my 30 summers now that I've been doing rotational grazing. That's the field that we just looked at with the manure I smeared. And hopefully there'll be another one come up that same field in April, May, June, that the grass came back and the cows are eating it again, another cycle. There's not a whole lot of brain surgery in rotational grazing. It's just a lot of common sense. Do what you think is right. If it works for you, that's what you do. That's what you do. Green is good. What is that? Azalea. She's the flower child. The grass has the minerals in it. We supply the water, feed free choice minerals at all the water systems. The meat I had tested way back early on, right from the grass-fed beef. In the fall, I had it tested for cholesterol and fat. I wanted to know. I've been eating it for years. I knew there was something different about it. So I took it to a lab there in Pittsburgh. They tested it for cholesterol. According to the USDA and the Meat Marketing Board, the cholesterol content in beef comes in, a chart from 0 to 100. Cholesterol comes in at 65. Our beef came in at 45 on cholesterol content. Fat, again, according to the USDA, fat content in beef at that time was 17%. Ours comes in at 14%. I thought it was here a little bit ago. Fat's good, lots of fat. Well, that's up to you. If it works for you, you want fat, keep it another year. I harvest our animals. I breed late September. They calve in June. I leave them calves on those cows until the following spring, right through the winter. I feed about 14 pounds a day dry hay through the winter out in the field, and they do real good. You don't have to put weight on these animals through the winter unless you want to. Maintain them through the winter. As soon as that grass comes on in the spring, I wean those calves around the 15th of April. Grass is coming on. 4 weeks into May, you'd never know those cows came through a winter. Some of them lose a little weight, not very often. They're very hardy, grass-based genetics, and they do thrive. But coming through the winter, again, they might lose a little weight. The calf is sucking. She's pregnant again. Going to do the cycle again. Same thing with breeding the cows on the grass. Wean them April. Most of them are probably already weaned. That cow's been 10 months. She wants rid of them. I call it fence weaning. Open the gate. I never chase cattle. I herd cattle. I never yell at the cattle. I just use body language. They're coming through the gate. When that rotational system gets used to the gates, I just have single strand polywire for my division fences. You open that into the next lot, get out of the way. They know what's going on. They'll win that next lot. You don't have to hurt them. Just get out of the way. And so in the spring when I wean, we wean the calves out one area, the cows out the other area. They both go to eating grass. A lot less stress. If you can keep the stress down, just like us, the less stress we have, the better we feel. I hope everybody will agree with that. I know that's where I'm at. In the spring, just like the rotational grazing, and do it all over again. Farmer, you know, is a very patient man, in my opinion. We plant a lot of seeds, whether it's breeding a cow or whether you plant and sow, reap and harvest. The grasses, again, will just get better with it. The grass doesn't care whether you clip it or the cow eats it. It'll come back. I haven't, I came home from service in '67, and my dad had farmed that, raising cows, pigs, chickens, plow, planting. And when I started grazing, I did other things, raised horses for years, but when I started building fence in '87, and the rotational grazing system that I had learned in high school in '63, the grass was there. I just started to manage it and manage the manure. I haven't bought or sowed a pound of grass seed in over 40 years. And I have several acres on the farm. You know, many of the pictures that when I was in high school in 1962 and 1963, the coal stripping was big in Pennsylvania back then. And Dad let them come in. They were on the farm to the south of us. He left to move up in on the farm around. They took one cut. If you all know what I'm talking about, high wall, digging out the coal, strip mine, deep mine. They took one cut, took the coal out, and left. That 7-foot high wall laid there until, that was in '63, it laid there until 2008. And I got some big dozers in and we put it all back, covered up the high wall, sowed it down, and I'm grazing it now. It's grazing grass now. That's just a little thing that has happened up there to put it all back. But the grass will grow, the cows will eat it. I put in another water system, and I just can't emphasize enough. It's exciting to me. I just turned 70. I've been doing it for 30 years. If I was 40 years younger, I'd have all Walls Township fenced in by now, grazing the whole county if I could. Okay.
Okay, Dave.
I mentioned the low in fat, low in cholesterol. Is my time up? Okay. I guess I'm done.
Your time's not up. The pictures for you are up. That's my info.
Oh. Forgive me, folks. I'm not used to all this, okay? Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. All right, we're going to switch the mics now. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on what I just said? Nobody? Oh, good. I did a good job.
When you clip your grass, what height do you clip it to?
How high do you clip it?
Yeah, how high?
4 or 5 inches.
4 or 5 inches.
Yeah. Just enough to keep it uniform. I look at it this way. How close does a cow eat it? down to the dirt.
Depends.
How long leave them in there, right? You can't hurt that grass. It'll just come back. Now, I'm talking Western Pennsylvania, of course. I don't know what it's like in, I take it you're from West Virginia.
Same thing here.
Oh, my wife Andrea.
Little bit of tag team. Now he's the experiential person. I'm the city girl. We came from Pittsburgh 20 years ago and got a real education. Studying as a nurse, nutrition was very fascinating to me. And I learned a lot of things that were incorrect. If you were in Dr. Ellersted's class previously, all that stuff we learned about low fat, low fat, all that stuff, it's all wrong. So it's a wonderful time to be in the cattle raising business, especially pasturing and foraging right now. Good stuff's coming up. And I didn't realize how much good stuff. It makes me want to go back to college and study all over again. I'd love to become a scientist later on now, in my late age. But when I was writing this thing up, it says grasses, minerals, water, proteins, and fatty acids. Okay. Well, I thought, fats. Grass does have fats, and I thought, they're going to think I'm crazy, but the proteins in the grass come from the nitrogen in the soil. So if you have decreased nitrogen, your protein quality is not going to be as good. The amino acids that make up the proteins of the cow's muscle, which is the meat, what we eat, for us to acquire the proteins we digest, break them down to amino acids for our building of our muscles and body tissues. Okay. So, at first, this was going to be a big selling point about grass-fed beef, that it was lower in fat, lower in cholesterol. But it's not, with that, being lower in fat is lower in calories, okay? But I found out, right, it's a good fat. It's a better kind of fat. Because it has more and better essential fatty acids. Okay. Now, he had a comparison of the grain-fed and grass-fed in this avenue of the essential fatty acid, especially in the oleic, omega-6, and it showed that it was still kind of low. So I don't know what they studied. In that Clemson University study that he talked about. It also is higher in vitamins, especially, this is amazing to me. I learned in nutrition that, you only got mainly B vitamins from beef and pork, from the meat and chicken. But it is higher in the vitamins in the grass than the grain. And it did seem like that was right, but then I did a little more research, and it was the effect of the herbicides and the pesticides in which the grains are grown, okay, lessen the good quality of fatty acids and lessen the minerals and lessen the quality of amino acids, that are produced. So overall, it is a little bit lower in fat, but it's a good quality fat. Beef cattle that have grass-based genetics do marble, and they marble well. Okay. That's not okay. I think it's the next one. Anyways, okay. The vitamins that the forage animals produce, definitely better in vitamin A. And that's more like having to do with the fat content going through the meat. The C in meat, vitamin C in beef, I mean, that, to me, that was amazing because, back in nutrition, it was like if you want vitamin C, you go and you eat citrus fruit. It was not found in beef. But I'm finding out from a lot of research. How many of you are familiar with Joe Robinson? Grass fed is best. And all of her team of researchers, they're finding that there is a good amount of vitamin C in your beef and vitamin E, which is a heart healthy vitamin. Okay, the B vitamins, especially found in riboflavin, high levels, very high levels, and lutein. I don't know how many of you watch the commercials, like 1 a day lutein for your eyes, they have a special formula if you're having eye problems as you mature. The lutein is twice as much in compounds in the grass-fed beef, foraged beef. And your minerals bind better. They're protein bound, what they call chelated. If you've ever bought supplements, they talk about chelated minerals. It means it's bound with protein. So you have, that's supposed to be an energy. Magnesium, potassium, manganese, and calcium are bound. I did forget phosphorus. So the mineral contents are better, and they're bound already, so that you can absorb them more readily through the digesting of the beef. Can you tell us the first time I ever did this? I'm a little bit nervous. He knows his presentation in his sleep, and I didn't know what words he was going to use, so I just did pictures. Mine's all righty, okay? So I'll go back there and show you a couple of pictures if you want. Okay, so here, I'm talking about the fat part. This is the one I'm going to talk about. So lower in fat, lower in cholesterol. Marbling does occur. A lot of times when I first met David, in the cattleman's session, oh, you can't raise cows on grass, they'll starve to death. They won't marble, it'll be tough. And, I wondered, does he know things to do? This was my first 6 months. And then I realized he knew what he was doing because it does marble. Okay, the older it gets, like from 18 months on, now it's really going to start to marble. Marbling is good. That's what makes your top quality cuts of beef, is how much marbling you have through the meat. But just like on a human being, the visceral fat, the fat like on the kidneys and through the intestine, all that stuff, around the heart, it's not as thick, okay? And just like like a human being, just like your heart bellies, the visceral fat is not as thick, okay? What's there is a good healthy fat and not a dangerous fat. It has the fatty acids. There are different kinds. There's like, oh my God, when I started researching, there's like over 36 different kind of fatty acids. And I thought, well, I'd be here like 12 frames of this just writing all these names of fatty acids. So hang with me. So I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And these fats are more digestible and less irritating to the digestive tract. Okay. As you can tell, we promote grass-fed over grain-fed. And I think there is a difference. Maybe research has proven this wrong, but when it's sweeter in taste and doesn't leave a greasy film in your mouth after you eat a piece of meat or a hamburger, or leave your belly all irritated and bloated afterwards. Okay. Here's a listing of 20 amino acids. Okay. These are the 20 amino acids that a human being needs to produce healthy blood. And guess how many of these are provided by healthy beef? All of them. Okay, fats have essential fatty acids and, non-essential. And the same thing with proteins. You have amino acids and essential amino acids. So, I'm sorry, these are not fatty acids. These are amino acids. Sorry, I have to okay, so all of these 20 are provided by the beef. These 9 are essential amino acids, and they are definitely provided. Notice I marked a little star after the histidine. Histidine is a very, very important amino acid in the human body, on any animal, but especially in the human body. It is an amino acid that's in each cell, and especially the red blood cells, okay? A high concentration in red blood cells. Now, because it's there, the histidine can break the cell wall and break down that cell very easily. You do this every 20 days, 21 days with your red blood cells, and you produce more, which produces the color to the bile and to your excrete. Okay. So it's very important. But in the same vein where it's important to be used, it can be found in another place that can be a negative place, okay? So, I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Okay, so on the fatty acid side, here's your saturated fat, history 3. Stearic acid, palmitic, and uric acid. Stearic acid actually converts to, in the cow, they eat grass, they produce, take in the stearic acid and produce stearic acid, and then they produce the oleic acid, which is omega-6. Okay, that's important. Okay. But oleic. So the unsaturated come in 2 forms: monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. That's what the movement means. Mono unsaturated fatty acid, polyunsaturated fatty acid. Your omega-9s, and these are your omega-3s and 6. And how many of you have heard, about grass-fed beef is higher in CLAs, conjugated linoleic acids, CLA, conjugated linoleic acid? Okay. I guess I should have been. Okay. I'm the science part, he's the experience part. Okay. So we have measurable CLAs, which is they're not as readily available in grain-fed unless they forage. There's a big difference from just grain-fed and grain-fed with foraging. Okay, I'm sorry, this is a little too much with the science part. The thing that a cow has is linolenic acid, and that does a lot of conversion. If you have good grasses, it converts stuff in the grass to healthy stuff for us. And there's a list of a whole bunch of, actually I read a whole bunch of scientific names and stuff down thinking you would think I was smart because I don't have a PhD in agronomy. Okay, so grain-fed animals have a pH, lower pH. Lower pH means it's more acidic, okay? And the grass-fed has a little higher cast neutral into an alkaline. So if you're taking an acidic food, you're going to become more acidic yourself. The more acidic your blood is, the more metabolic problems like diabetes and heart conditions and stuff like that can ensue. Okay, so when it's a more acidic pH, the cows have a decreased amount of good bacteria. Now, in Dr. Featherstead's class, he talked about the grasses. No, that was so that was the effect. Did you know that there's these microbes that produce awesome things for the grass? Just like we're supposed to have good bacteria in our intestines, the grass has this, I call it a universe of microbial organisms that make the grass healthy. And then thus, as the cow eats grass, he's more healthy, can produce his good bacteria. And then when we eat the healthy meat, we can produce good bacteria and not have it destroyed by meat that's already too acidic. Okay. So I added this in. There was one picture we talked about the cows with the horns. Those were the milking ducks. That one was a heritage breed. We're talking about it because we've experienced it. It's not to promote that breed, but in our experience, it's more likely that these heritage breeds are going to be what is considered an A2 in their DNA, A1, A2. And it just has to do with their DNA. There's 209 amino acids in a strand of DNA. And at the position of 67, there's a difference between grain-fed and grass-fed. Okay? Or the A1, A2, I'm sorry. The A1 has the histidine, whereas the A2 has the proline. The proline is the more digestible protein in the milk. Okay, the histidine breaks down things and causes irritation. So milk that is from A1 animals is more likely to cause digestive problems with irritation. Okay, and that's a big thing. That research is coming from Australia, New Zealand, and they have actually registered their milk as A2. If you went on a computer and looked up A2 milk, you would find all the stuff on research done in Australia. Okay. Well, here's your finished product. Sorry, it's just a cartoon picture, but your meat produced on good grasses is your healthier meat. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll give it back to David. He can finish up with questions. Wait, do you have any science questions? Good, I don't think so. Okay. Sorry if I bored you with all that.
Does anybody have any questions for Andrea or I? Good, you did a good job. If you indulge me for a few more minutes, that first poem I read was mine. This one's not mine, but I want to share it with you if you don't mind, okay? How many have heard, so God made a farmer? 2, 3, rest. You want to hear it or not? Okay. I don't want to keep you. So God made a farmer. God looked down on the earth He created and said, I need a caretaker for this world I have made. So God made a farmer. He said, I need someone to get up before dawn and milk the cows, till the fields, milk the cows again, go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting from the school board. So God made a farmer. I need someone strong, someone with strong arms, strong enough to wrestle a calf, gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild, somebody to call the hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry and have to wait for lunch until his wife is done entertaining the visiting ladies. And tell the ladies, I hope you all come back real soon and mean it. So God made a farmer. He said, I need someone to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die. So God made a farmer. I need someone to shape an axe handle, shoe a horse with a hunk of tire, or to make a harness out of hay wire, feed sacks and shoe scraps, who at planting time and harvest will finish his first 40 hours by Tuesday noon, then painting from tractor pain, and put in another 70 hours. God had to have someone to ride the ruts at double speed, get the hay in ahead of the rain, and can't stop in the midfield and race to help when he sees the smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. He said, I need someone strong enough to clear the trees and heat the bales, and yet gentle enough to tame the lambs, wean the pigs, tend the pink-cone pullets. Will stop his mower for an hour to splint the leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. He had to be someone who would plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Someone to seed, weed, feed, breed, rake and disc and plow and plant, plow the snow and strain the milk, and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard day's work with a 5-mile drive to church. God made a farmer. Someone that would build a family together with soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and reply with a smile when his son says, I just want a life like Dad has. So God made a farmer. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
How many do you know? How many pets do you know? You know?
I don't think they know.
No, we just built it for our own self, that's all.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.